Hello everyone. Welcome in. Hello Janica. How you doing today? How's everyone? Let me know. Top Nail, how you doing? Let me know how you guys are doing, what you guys are up to today. I'm just getting my nails ready to go for our demo today. We're going to kind of mix it up a little bit today. We're going to be doing something a little bit different. So hopefully you guys are going to enjoy today's demo. But we'll give everybody just a little bit of time to jump in and hopefully get your notifications. You guys, we may not have sent out the text notification today, so if you didn't get that, don't panic. Our moderator is having the day off, so we may not get that sent, but you guys, that is a good reminder to make sure that you have your notifications here on YouTube set. Make sure that you've subscribed to the channel, so that way you will always get those notifications and you'll know when we go live. So just gonna get our nails ready to go here. Let's see who else is with us today. Let's see, Grand Bay Nails, J. Rob. Let's see, Zaneta, Martine. Ooh, from Belgium. Welcome to Belgium. Let's see, Claudia, Blue Star, Christina, Diana. Awesome, you guys. Great to see all you back here. Macon, welcome back. Haven't seen you in a while. And Biba, I apologize. I think yesterday I said, okay, let me get this right. I think I said Dubai and I think it was Abu Dhabi. So I apologize for misreading that. But you guys, welcome wherever you're joining us from. Welcome to our little lesson today. Like I said, I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. We're going to kind of change things up a little bit. But we're going to get started with our prep. And whatever service, whatever artificial enhancement you're doing, it's usually going to be basically the same prep every time. And we're always going to start with pushing back those cuticles, and I am using our magic wand. You guys, I always like to show the kind of versatility of the magic wand here. So it's got that rounded edge for pushing back the cuticles. We've also got that pointed edge, kind of that, I don't want to say a blade because it's not sharp like a blade. It's not going to cut, but it's kind of a more of a point so that you can come around that cuticle area and clean that up. You can also use the other end of it for pinching your C-curves when you're working with acrylic. So the magic wand, it doesn't perform magic tricks, but it really is a multi-use tool in one. So it's a great tool to have kind of in your arsenal, in your nail tech or enthusiast toolbox here. So we're going to start again by just pushing back those cuticles. We're going to grab our E-file, and I'm going to switch my bit. This is our safety bit, but I don't want to use a carbide. So this one, guys, is a carbide. Let me dust that off a little bit so you can see. So carbide bits are designed to shave down product. These are going to be used more for on artificial enhancements, acrylic, hard gel, even gel manicures, removing that gel polish. When you are prepping a natural nail, you want to make sure that you're using a softer bit, something that's not going to shave down that natural nail, something that's just going to gently remove the shine from the surface of the nail. So that's what we're using today. This is our it's about a 150 grit. It's a medium grit sanding band. And we're going to turn our E-file to about 5,000 RPMs. Again, you want to use a gentle bit and a gentle speed on your E-file. So 5,000, I would say anywhere about 4,000 to 6,000 is kind of the average RPMs on your E-file. So just make sure that you're coming up around that cuticle, removing any dead protein growth, any of that extra cuticle that might be kind of stuck down onto your nail. You guys, don't judge my cuticles here, but let me show you really quick on a real nail what we're really trying to do here. So again, pushing back that cuticle, it's actually pushing back that eponychium is what that area is called. And that's going to expose, see that kind of dry, flaky, dead tissue? That's what we're really trying to expose when we're pushing back that eponychium. And then when we come in with the sanding band, you're basically going to be removing all of that dead protein growth. Okay, so you guys can kind of see how I just removed all of that protein growth, and then you're going to just go through and lightly remove the shine from the rest of the nail. And I do that just by kind of feathering that bit back and forth. I'm basically, if I were to slow this down, I'm coming across the nail and picking up the bit. Come across the nail, pick up the bit. And again, that's just going to kind of take away that shiny surface. Now what that shiny surface really is basically oils in the nail plate. And what we're trying to do is just kind of break up those oils so that we can remove them completely when we cleanse the nail. Now we're also kind of creating a slight texture. We're not trying to really grind away that natural nail. We're just trying to, like I said, remove that shiny surface and give it a little bit of texture for our product to adhere to. And yes, you guys, you can see I do need a fill on my nails. I know I see a couple of comments in the chat there. Eventually we'll maybe get around to filling these. Maybe we'll do that on camera, you guys, but the life of a nail tech, y'all know, if you're a nail tech, you're working in salon, you know it's hard to keep up on your own nails because you're taking care of everybody else. So please don't judge my nails, but I've got great product on there that lasts a long time. So I generally go about 3 weeks in between my fills. So that's usually what I do. But I would say no more than 2 to 3 weeks for fills and you're good to go. But next thing we're going to do is we're going to use our swipe. And swipe is going to be our cleanser. I'm going to pump a little bit of that up onto my manicure brush. And then we're going to use that to clean through that whole nail surface. And really what that swipe is going to do is it's going to clean off that nail, help to remove any dust, any germs, any bacteria, anything like that that may be on that nail and contaminating that nail. It's also going to help to, I don't like to say dehydrate the nail, but it's going to pull off the extra oils from that nail surface. Most people don't like to hear that you're dehydrating their nail plate because, you guys, if you look at my cuticles are dehydrated. They are dry. They need oil. They need moisture. They need hydration. And if you tell a client that I'm going to, dehydrate your nail, they're probably going to get a little kind of on the defensive end. So I always say we're going to pull off the excess oils from the nail surface. Okay. We will use cuticle oil at the end of a service to make sure to rehydrate and replenish that moisture that we've removed. Next product we're going to use is our Protein Bond. Protein Bond is our bonder. Now, a lot of other products use a primer. Protein Bond is not a primer. It doesn't have that same methacrylic acid that a lot of other primers do. But what Protein Bond is going to do is it's actually going to leave kind of a sticky surface on our nail. So I'm going to just kind of tap off some of that excess. I don't want to flood it onto my nail. But I'm going to start from the center and I'm going to brush that out to the sides. Again, this way I don't flood that product up into that cuticle area. But after applying your Protein Bond, you see how that nail has now a sticky surface. It doesn't look like that kind of that chalky dry look anymore. It has more of that tacky finish. So that's what we want on our nail. We actually want that tacky surface to adhere to whatever product we're putting on. Today we're going to be using our Synergy hard gels, and with hard gels or acrylic, I always use 2 coats of Protein Bond just to make sure we've got really great adhesion throughout that whole nail surface. Next thing we're going to grab is our forms, and I'm just going to grab our standard blue forms. We're going to do an almond, kind of an almond shape, maybe a little bit of a longer almond shape. So that's why I'm using just our standard blue forms. If I was going to be doing maybe a longer nail, then I could use our XL forms, but we're going to just stick to our standard blue ones today. So I'm going to take that form, take that little center tab out of the middle, and I'm going to just place that right on the back of my form. That way, when I roll my form and kind of pinch that together, my form is going to feel a little bit more durable. It's going to feel a little bit more firm, and it's going to be a little bit more, I guess durable is probably the best word I can use. I'm going to fold my form over. I'm not going to crease it down the center, but I'm just going to kind of roll it over so that these 2 little silver tabs meet up together nice and evenly. I want to make sure that those come together as even as possible. If I were to kind of pinch those together and they're not even like this, what's going to happen is my form is going to look crooked, which is going to make my nail look crooked. So I always want to make sure, keep those little silver tabs together as evenly as you can get them. Okay. Now, if you're working on a square nail, if you're trying to create a square nail, leave that end of the form open. See how it's got that little opening in the center there? Make sure to leave that open for a square nail, because this way you're going to be able to kind of line your product up with those lines that are on that form, and you're going to be able to create a nice square nail. Now today we're going to be doing an almond shaped nail, so what I want to do instead is I actually want to pinch the end of that form together, so that way it's going to start to form more of that taper towards the end. And we're going to be doing a little bit of a short, I'm not going to say a short almond, but we're not going to do an almondetto. We're not going to do that really long almond. So I'm actually going to pinch that form a little bit shorter, so that way we can create a shorter nail and still have that same structure. We're going to have a nice tight C curve through that form and through that extension. Okay, we're going to open up that little perforation up at the top, and then we're going to get our form onto the nail. We're going to come right up underneath that natural nail, and you see I have it kind of at a downward angle. I don't just jam that form right up underneath that free edge because I don't want to push into that hyponychium. That hyponychium is the skin, let me see if you can see it. It's that skin right up under the nail. Here, let me dust this off. But I want you guys to see there is that little bit of skin right up underneath that natural nail. That hyponychium connects our fingertip to that natural nail, and that's actually a barrier. So it's going to help to keep out any germs, any bacteria, or things like that. So if you were to just shove that form right up underneath there, what can happen is you could actually kind of cut into that hyponychium, or you could damage that, or even kind of, poke a hole into it. And again, that's going to open that up a little bit for germs and bacteria to get under. So we want to make sure that when we're putting our forms on, that we're doing this very carefully. And again, not just shoving that form right up underneath that natural nail. So that's why I start at kind of a downward angle, bring that form up underneath and kind of catch that free edge, and then just lift up on that end, just kind of rocking that up until that form comes a little bit more straight out from the free edge. And then I can secure that form right down on the sides. Now at this point, I'm going to check a couple of things. I want to make sure that my form is positioned correctly. So first things first, I'm going to look straight at that nail. Let me adjust my camera here so I can see straight on. There we go. So I want to make sure that that form is basically straight in line with the finger. And if you notice on our forms, we've got that bold line right down the center. Okay, that bold line should be straight in line with the finger, and I'm kind of lining up my little orange wood stick here, and I line it up from the knuckle, knuckle, knuckle through the nail and then down through that, that form. So that's going to show me if my form is nice and centered, okay? If it's not, if something happened, let me show you just kind of as an example. Maybe I got my form on a little bit crooked. You kind of see how it's a little bit crooked. If I were to hold that orange wood stick straight down the middle of that finger and down through the nail, do you see how my form is now off-centered? Okay, I want to make sure that I adjust that before I start my application so that now I know that my free edge, my extension is going to be nice and straight and even. Okay, the other thing I want to do you see how that form kind of flares out right through here? Especially when you're doing an almond, a coffin, or what we're going to do today is, or sorry guys, when you're doing a stiletto or a coffin, or today we're doing that almond shape, we want to make sure that our form is nice and narrow right through here. So I will always come underneath that form, just kind of pinch that together a little bit more so it doesn't look so wide on the sides and our nail itself is not going to be flared out. Now by having a little bit more of that curve in our form, we're going to get a really good, nice, tight C curve underneath that nail. Okay. Next thing you want to check when you're getting your forms on is right between that form and that natural nail. So just right in between here, you want to make sure that there's no gaps or any empty space in there. You want to make sure that that form is flush up underneath that natural nail and also coming straight out from that natural nail. So you want to make sure that, again, no gaps under here, because if there are any gaps, your product is going to flow underneath there and it's going to affect the kind of the structure of the nail. Okay, so make sure your form is flush up underneath that natural nail and that your form is coming nice and straight. Now you can see how the light reflects. Do you see how there's kind of this light reflection right through here? I'm actually going to use that as my guide for building out my free edge. That's going to be the shape that I'm trying to create. Now if I were working on a square nail, I wouldn't have pinched that so tight at the end, and I would have been able to use those straight lines down the form. But again, because we're working on an almond shape, we don't have those straight lines coming in at that direction. So that's why I use that light reflection as my guide. So again, you can kind of see exactly where our product is going to come. It's going to come from that corner to the point, okay? And then we're going to fill in the rest of this, okay? I hope that makes sense. So let's get into our application then. And I'm going to grab my clear sculptor. And you guys, I'm using the clear sculptor in the precision applicator tube. Especially for beginners, I think this is a great product. I think it's a really easy product to use, especially in the tube. Because when you're working from the tube, all you need to do is you just squeeze out a little bit of product. We're going to connect that right at that free edge area. I'm just going to use that nozzle of the applicator, and you can kind of see there's a little bit of a string of gel. I use that little bit of string to kind of guide my product over to the side. And then I come back to the center, again, kind of using that string to guide my product over to the side. At this point, I don't need a brush. I can just use the tube here to maneuver my product. If I need to add a little bit more product, I'll squeeze out just a little bit more right in the center area. And then I can, again, using that kind of string of gel, just kind of work that product down the length of the nail. Now, if you feel like you need to use your brush, or if it's easier to use your brush, you absolutely can. For me, I do kind of use a combination of both. So I use the nozzle here to really kind of spread my product out, get that nice and even on the nail. And then I will come back in with my brush. And I'm also going to grab a little tile to kind of keep my brush clean. So I'm going to use our Pro Gel Sculptor. Guys, if you haven't used this brush, it's an amazing brush. I absolutely love it. It comes in 2 pieces, so you can use the piece for a brush handle, and then you can also use it to cover up your brush and keep your brush nice and clean. But I use that little tile to kind of keep my brush clean, and if there's any extra gel on my brush, I use that to wipe my brush on. So once I've got my product on here like I do, I always try to make sure, is it connected up to that natural nail? I don't have any gaps in between there. And then I'm also going to use the edge of my brush. So I'm going to use the edge right along the side here. I'm going to use the edge of my brush to clean up and straighten out that edge of my product. And I'm actually going to use a little bit more of that product. I'm going to bring that right up into the corner here. Now my product, I actually got a little bit less than I probably normally put on, so I do have to kind of maneuver that a little bit more up into that corner. Usually when I'm cleaning up my sides like this, a little bit of that product, now you can kind of see, a little bit of that product is going to get pulled right up into that corner, and it's going to come straight out from that natural nail now. I'm going to wipe out my brush, keep that nice and clean. I'll turn over to the other side. Now this side, there is a little bit more product hanging down. You can kind of see that right up in here. So this way I am going to do that same thing, pulling that gel right up into that corner. Now you can see how it comes right up in there. And then if there is any a little bit kind of forming a ledge there, I'll blend that in onto that natural nail so I don't have that little ridge there. Okay, you can kind of see exactly where my product is. Now one last thing, I am going to just kind of thin out and taper out that free edge a little bit more. I know it's going to look like I'm making a longer nail, but I'm actually going to clip off a little bit of this free edge. But I do want to make sure that that free edge is nice and thin. I don't have a lot of bulk right at that free edge, because we're actually going to be doing a dimensional nail today, and I'm going to build in some color. And I want to make sure that clear underneath is thin enough where I'm not going to be filing off my color and just seeing clear. And that'll make sense when you guys see the application in a little bit. So that's going to go into the light. We're going to just freeze that in our light for about 30 seconds or so, just enough to kind of set that extension. After we have that set, we're going to come back to our base gel. Now base gel it's just what it sounds like. It's the base for our nail. This is going to be our foundation layer. This is what's going to have the best bond to the natural nail. So make sure if you are using the Synergy hard gel system, you never ever skip using that base. If you skip using the base, a lot of times you may end up with product lifting or separation. So again, this has the best bond to that natural nail, has more resins to it than any of the other gels do. So that's why it's going to have that best bond. All right, and you guys, I'm just cleaning out my brush. I had a little bit of dust in there and I see a little piece of glitter in there. I'm not going to worry too much about that glitter, but I did want to make sure that my brush is nice and clean. So you saw I did pick up a little bit of that base gel and I just kind of worked my brush through that. And that's how I clean out my brush. That's going to pull out any of those. Actually, you can kind of see it did pull out some of those little pieces of glitter. And it is going to pull out any of that dust or anything that's in my brush that I don't want on my brush. So quick little tip on how to clean your brush out. So I'm going to take just a little bit of that base gel. I just kind of drag my brush right across the surface, tap off that little string. Now you can see there's just a little bit of product on my brush. I don't need a lot because all I'm going to do is just brush this on to that natural nail. Again, just creating this very thin layer, enough to bond to that natural nail and then bond to the rest of the gel that we put on. And you see with this gel, I am using a little bit of pressure with my brush. With some of the other gels, and as I was applying that free edge, you could see I was doing a little bit more floating. But when you're using that base, you do want to use some pressure and get that product down into all those last little nooks and crannies of that nail. Coming all the way out to our sides, up to our cuticle area, excuse me, making sure we've got even coverage over that nail, okay? I am going to pick up just a little bit more of that base gel, and I like to run a little bit of this right around where that natural nail connects to that extension. What this is going to do is this is going to ensure that I have really good connection once this product is cured. And I'll take my form off, and this little bit of extra product is going to help to make sure that I don't crack this, this extension off when I do take that form off, okay? It's also going to give me a little bit more of an even kind of a level surface here. If I didn't add that last little bit right through here, I'd have a little bit more of a drop down between that natural nail and that form. So it's just going to kind of give me just that little bit more of a smooth transition from that natural nail to the form. All right, we're going to close up our base gel, and you guys make sure that whenever you are curing any product that you have, make sure that that stays away from your light, so that front of the light, anything that is in front of the light here, that could still cure. So I want to make sure that I don't have any product in front of my light, my brush isn't in front of my light or anything like that. So make sure you keep all of your gels away from that light. Now, next thing we're going to do is something that I've had a lot of questions about lately, and we're going to use Slick Pour with our gel. Now, Slick Pour is an acrylic powder. It's technically from our dip system, but what this is, it's an ultra-fine acrylic powder, and it does have color pigment to it. Now, again, normally you don't generally mix your acrylics and your gels together, but we're going to do it today, and I'm going to show you some tips and tricks on making it work well, okay? Because there are some things that you want to make sure that you're doing and not doing to have good results with this. So I'm just going to use a little bit of polish remover, clean off my tile here, make sure I've got a nice clean spot. Now I'm going to mix our Slick Pour, and you guys, this is Cinnabar, so if you're looking for products, this is Cinnabar. And the gel that I'm going to be mixing this in with is our Build Pink. Now you guys, a lot of times if you've been with our channel for a while, you see me use the Build Pink in the tube. We also have that same product in the jar. So it's a personal preference. You can use the jar or the tube. It's all going to be the same product. You can use either one. But today I just saw this in my drawer and I figured I would grab it. Now it doesn't normally come with all of that glitter on the bottom, but this is a gel that I tend to use when I'm mixing a lot. So I do get a little bit of glitter in there. It does sink to the bottom. It's not a big deal, so don't worry about that. But I just want to make sure that you guys know that the Build Pink does not come with that extra glitter in it. So not to worry. But you guys, if you are new to our channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you're learning a lot today, hopefully you guys are learning a lot. Hopefully you're getting some great nail techniques and some ideas today. So hit that subscribe button so we can continue to share all of this free education with you. So all I did at this point was I took a little bit of my Build Pink, and I actually think that's probably more than what I need. So I'm going to take a little bit of that off, put that back in my jar. And then we're going to use our Slick Pour color, and this is our orange color. I'm loving this color for Halloween, you guys. I'm starting to see all those little spooky things out there for Halloween, and that's kind of what inspired our nail today. But when you are mixing that slick pour acrylic powder with your hard gels, a little bit goes a long way. So don't just dump a whole lot of this onto your gel. It's not like glitter where you can, well, I guess you can add more gel and kind of refine that a little bit. But start with a little bit. A little bit goes a long way. And I'm just going to kind of sprinkle that. Here, let me come in a little closer for you. I'm going to just sprinkle that onto my gel. And that actually might be a little bit more than what I need. But I'm going to just start by kind of pressing that product or pressing that powder down into that gel and then just kind of smooshing it. I know that's a technical term, but just smoosh it all together and just kind of spread that so that all of that acrylic powder combines, all of that pigment combines. And you guys, we always kind of describe it as like, kind of like you're buttering your toast, okay? Make sure that you're not just bouncing like this. Here, let me show you. You don't want to just bounce and get that all gooey and sticky. Do you see what happens? It puts all of that texture in there, and it actually, what that's really doing is putting air bubbles into your gel. So you want to make sure that you're doing more smoothing, because that's going to press out those air bubbles, and it's going to keep your product bubble free rather than bouncing your spatula onto that product. Now, you guys, you saw that little bit that I used of our slick pour color. That really is highly pigmented, so this gave my product a really nice, even orange color. Here's the thing, when you are working with these slick pour colors and you are adding them to your gel, you want to make sure that you're not overusing them, okay? Because you want to make sure that your gel is still going to be able to cure in the light, and if you put too much of that color in, it can actually inhibit that light from curing. So like I said, a little bit goes a long way. Make sure that you're not trying to overmix, and you should be okay. All right, let's add in, you guys, we always have to have a little sparkle. So I'm going to grab Text Your Friends. This is our kind of our orangey, kind of a peachy kind of a color. Got to add a little bit of glitter in there. So I'm just going to sprinkle a little bit of that glitter in there. Now, you guys, this glitter is actually somewhat iridescent. So let me kind of pour this into the cap. And I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see this on camera or not. But with this glitter, there we go. It does have enough iridescence to it where this is actually going to be okay in the light. It's going to cure all the way through when it's mixed into that gel. So this we don't really have to worry about it not curing, okay? It's basically that slick pour, that acrylic powder that we mixed in that we really want to make sure that we're not overusing to make sure that we have really good, good curing. Same thing with this. We're going to just kind of smoosh that all together, spread that butter on the toast, if you will, and combine all of that glitter. Again, anybody that's new to our channel, if you're just joining us, make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you're learning some things today, if you're enjoying our stream, the more you guys subscribe, the more we're able to provide great free education for you. So we love to be able to do that, and we appreciate you guys all. All right, so we've got our orange and our glitter mixed in there. I think we are ready to apply this to our nail. So I'm just going to clean off my spatula a little bit. And let's grab our nail. So at this point, we've already got that clear base down. We've got our extension built out. I'm just going to pop that form off. I'm going to pinch that underneath there. I'm going to pop that form off. And maybe, let me grab, actually I'm going to grab my magic wand here. I'm just going to slide that blade end right underneath to kind of loosen that form up. There we go. Do you see how that kind of came off there? I always want to make sure that my form loosens completely from that nail or from that extension, so that way I don't, again, pop that form or pop that natural nail. Not the natural nail, the extension. Sorry guys, pop that extension off. Now, here's a little trick that is going to make your life a little easier when you're filing nails. If you have a straight edge toenail clipper, you can use that to come in and shorten up or kind of clip off those edges so that now your lower arch is going to be nice and straight and you're going to have a lot less filing to do. So this is just a trick that I like to do And I do this in this base layer because it's nice and thin. It's going to clip nice and easily. If you wait to do this until you've got that whole entire structure on, it's going to be too thick and it's not going to clip as easily. So do this in your base layer. And that little bit that we kind of extended that free edge, I'm actually going to clip that off as well. So I'm just kind of coming from one side to the other. So this way we're going to create a little bit more of our almond shape. Okay. All right. Let's get to our orange here. Come in. So we're going to do a full cover color on our nail. Now, a lot of times I don't love to do that full color or full coverage because we've got so many different gel polishes. A lot of times you can just really do your gel polish, but for this design, I like to have a base layer of this orange, and then we're going to add in some sparkle to it. I know we added a little bit of that glitter in, but we're adding a little bit more sparkle as we go. So I'm just kind of picking up that product, dropping a little bit of that down, kind of give your brush a little bit of a press onto that nail. Now you can kind of see that it's released that product from my brush a little bit. I still keep that little tail kind of connected there, and I'm just going to basically float on the surface. So you guys, I'm not putting pressure. I'm just floating on the surface of that nail. Kind of look from the side, you can see what I mean there. Okay, so just floating on the surface of that nail, bringing that product up around my cuticle area, pulling that product down along the side. Now I'm going to come back up to that cuticle area in that circular motion and do that same thing on the right side. Now when I'm working on my left side, I'm working in a counterclockwise circular motion. When I'm working in my right side, I'm using a clockwise circular motion. So that way you're going to be able to pull that product all the way up into that cuticle area, but not touching that cuticle area, and getting that as close to your sidewalls as you can. I'm just going to start to kind of feather that product down the length of the nail. I can use those little circular motions if I need to, or just kind of pulling that product, whichever technique is going to be easier for you. And at this point, I'm really not trying to build up a lot of thickness. I'm not going to try to build up the whole nail from this orange. I'm just going to create a thin layer just for the color so that we can add in a little bit more sparkle. Okay, I just kind of faded off that last little bit there. I am going to pick up a little bit more of that product to just fill in this free edge a little bit more. So same thing, kind of press that brush down on there, drop that onto the nail, and then again use those circular motions or that back and forth motion to really just bring that product all the way down the length of the nail. So this way I've got enough product on here so my color is nice and even and consistent all the way to that free edge. And I do kind of take a check around my cuticles, around those sides, just to make sure I've got product all the way out to the edge, as close as I can get to my sidewalls and my cuticle without touching. You guys, you want to really be cautious, especially when you're working with gel, because gels can be a little bit self-leveling and you don't want them to run into that cuticle or the sidewalls. So as I work, kind of notice that I do work at a slight downward motion or downward angle with that nail. That way any product is going to self-level down with gravity rather than running back up into my cuticle area. Okay, at this point we're going to get our nail back into the light. We're going to just set that into place. We're going to freeze that for about 30 seconds. Now in the meantime, I'm going to grab my mylars, and we've got Whodunnit, which is our orange mylar. And I thought, you know, as I was kind of thinking about this design, I said, I want to add a little bit more of kind of a fiery look. So I'm going to be using a little bit of, I may use our banana strawberry mylar, or I may use a little bit more of that lemonade mylar. Or raspberry, you guys, I'm not sure. But we'll see. We'll see what looks good with our design here. But I am going to start with that orange mylar that is called Whodunnit. Okay. Now at this point, the surface of our nail is cured enough. The product isn't fully cured all the way through, but it is cured enough to where we can move on without smudging up or moving that product. But it's not sticky enough to just stick our mylars on there. So I'm going to come back to our base gel, that same base that we were using before. Oops. I'm actually going to grab another tile to clean my brush out here because I still have a little bit of that orange in there. I want to pull some of that out, clean out that brush a little bit. And again, I'm going to grab that base gel. I'm going to drag my brush right through that, tap off that extra, and again, just brushing on a nice thin layer of that base gel. This is going to just kind of re-wet that surface of my nail here. So this way, now I can take those mylars, open that up, and let's grab this other one here. Now I can just take those mylars, just kind of touching my brush to the mylar, and then I'm going to set that down into that wet gel. So just kind of placing those mylars wherever you feel like you need a little sparkle. And I think I'm going to grab some of a little bit of maybe this. You guys, there's so many different colors, and you kind of have to look at how those colors are going to reflect. So it's not necessarily the color you actually see. So if I take a look here, this is the color that I grabbed. This actually has some of that yellow and that kind of pinkish reddish to it, but on that, when you pick that up and you set that onto the nail, you're going to see a little bit of different light reflection. So kind of keep that in mind when you are choosing those mylar colors. What do you actually want that reflection to look like? Now I'm going to be doing a kind of a jack-o'-lantern look. So I actually want this to look more fiery. So that orange was great, but I'm going to take a little bit more of those other colors just to give it a little bit more glow. So again, give it a little bit more of a fiery look. And you guys, when I'm working with the mylars, I love to kind of mix them a little bit. So that's why I grabbed some of that orange first, and then we're going to add in some of these other fiery colors. So this way I got a lot of different color, a lot of different texture, and again, a lot of that kind of fiery look on that nail. So I'm just setting these down into that wet gel. And you can move them around, you can place them wherever you want. If you feel like you want bigger pieces or chunkier pieces, you can grab that. A lot of times what I will do also is I'll take a little pinch of that mylar and I'll just kind of sprinkle that onto my tile. That way I can also look at that and I can see, okay, what colors do I want specifically? Do I want a little bit more of that raspberry kind of color? I can pick up that raspberry and I can set that down into the nail. Okay, if I want a little bit more of, let's see, maybe a little bit more of that kind of gold color, maybe I'll grab that one right there. So you can kind of pick and choose how you place your mylars on there. If you don't really care where they all go, you can just grab a whole bunch of that on your brush, set it onto the nail and work like that. Or again, you can kind of pick up those little pieces and place them individually, okay? However you like to work is great. At this time though, we're going to get that back into the light. Oops, get that back into the light. Again, I'm going to freeze that into place for 30 seconds. You guys make sure, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. That way we can keep giving you guys all of this great free education. We love to see all of those subscribers. Let me know in the chat. Have you subscribed yet? Let me know. Put a thumbs up in the chat if you've subscribed to our channel. I'd love to see that. So all I'm doing at this point is just, I have a dry wipe. I don't have any product on there, no cleanser or anything. And I just kind of fold that over my brush, and that's going to help to pull out any of that extra color or glitter or that mylar that may be on my brush. Now we're going to go ahead and cap this nail. Come back in here. So if we take a look at our nail here, at this point, there's not a whole lot of structure, and we have a lot of that mylar kind of poking up. So we want to build up more structure so that we've got a good, strong enhancement, and that our mylar is going to be encased. So when we do file this nail, we're not going to file that mylar off. Now, you guys, I am closing up all my containers here so I don't file into any of that glitter or any of the mylar or any of the gels. You guys always make sure that you are closing up your products so everything stays clean and that you are not contaminating any of them, okay? All right, so to cap our nail, I could have used that Build Pink that I used from the tub here, but when I'm doing my overlays, that's where I really like to use that Build Pink in the tube. So again, you guys, it's personal preference, but this way, using that tube, again, I feel like, especially for beginners, much, much easier. Because all we're doing right now, squeeze a little bit of that Build Pink out. Same using those circular motions up around that cuticle, back over to the right side. So again, left side, counterclockwise motion, over to the right side. Did I say that right? Clockwise motion on the right side, counterclockwise on the left side. And just bringing that product down. Again, if I need to add any more product, I'll squeeze that out. And I usually will squeeze out product when I'm in the center of the nail. I don't squeeze out extra product when I'm at the sides, because that can tend to kind of flood the sides and then even run off the sides of the nail. So just a little bit more product down here, bringing that all the way to the end. And I'm going to check kind of from the side view. I'm going to add just a little bit more product right into my arch, right into that apex, that high point, building up that structure of my nail. Now, I do tend to go back with my brush, making sure that my product gets all the way around my edges, making sure I've capped all of that color, and just really making sure that my structure is where it should be. And also making sure that my product didn't run down the sides. So you guys, if your area is warmer, your gels are going to flow a little bit more. Okay, so make sure that you kind of keep an eye on those. And now I will get that into the light. So at this point, we are going to fully cure that in the light for a full 60 seconds. So usually when I'm working on nails like this and the hand is in that fully curing, this is where I will go through. I will close up all of my containers, kind of reorganize myself, put things away. I always make sure to wipe off the nozzle of those applicator tubes, so that way when I put the cap back on, it's going to stay nice and clean. Okay. Same thing with our brush. If you need to, you can clean it out on that tile, just like I was showing you earlier. Clean out all of that extra gel on there. Again, if you need to, you can always wipe out that little bit of gel that's in your brush. But again, you guys, with your gel brushes, make sure that you're not trying to use any cleansers, swipe, acetone, alcohol, nothing like that. You can see I always leave a little bit of that gel in the brush. What this is going to do is this is going to help to keep those bristles hydrated. It's going to keep them together. And again, I do not use any cleanser on my towel. So nothing, no swipe, no alcohol, no acetone, just a dry wipe to clean off any of that extra product, but leaving a little bit in that brush to keep it nice and saturated, keep those bristles together, and then I can put that cap back on my brush to keep it nice and clean for next time. All right, our nail is cured out fully. I'm going to open up my dust collector here. And you guys can see I've got my dust collector. I actually have it mounted into my station, but if you just have a tabletop one, that is awesome too. If you don't have a dust collector, I highly, highly, highly recommend it, because this is how you're going to keep all of that filing dust away from your face. Okay, now when our nail comes out of the light, it does have a tacky surface to it. So we're going to come back to our swipe, and this time I am going to use a little bit of that on a lint-free wipe to clean off that surface. At this point, you can't use that brush to clean that off, because all of that tacky surface is just going to get in the brush. So at this point, you do want to use that lint-free wipe to clean out that, to clean off that tacky surface. You guys, people are asking about my desk. You guys, I just have a IKEA desk with, I used some peel and stick tiles to kind of put on the surface of it, and then just cut a hole into that tabletop and mounted my dust collector in there. So you guys, if you're handy, you can do those kind of things, or if you know somebody that's handy. Otherwise, just having your dust collector on your station is just fine too, okay? But definitely keep your lungs healthy, keep your sinuses healthy. Make sure that you have a dust collector that is going to pull away all of that really fine dust. Now you guys, as I'm working, you're going to notice that I will have some dust on my hands, which is fine. That's not the dust that I'm concerned about. The dust that I am concerned about, that the dust collector is going to get, is all of those really, really fine. Let's go ahead and, you guys, I hope everything with the connection was good here. I just got a hope everything's good, but let me know if it's not. Oops, wrong bit. All right, so I'm going to switch my bit to our X-Cut carbide, and we're going to use that to take down our product. Somebody's asking in the chat, where can I order your products? You guys, everything that I'm using here today is Young Nails. So youngnails.com, and maybe our moderators can get that into the chat. I think they got that pinned there. And we do have distributors in other countries as well. So if you are in a different country, check out youngnails.com, and at the bottom we do have a place where you can find other distributors. All right, so we've got our X-Cut carbide bit. We're going to turn our speed up on our E-file to about 15,000 RPMs. And I'm going to just use this to straighten out my perimeter. So what I mean by my perimeter are my sidewalls and my free edge, and then my lower arch underneath here, okay? So again, we're going to start with sidewalls, pulling straight down. You guys okay? Sounds like connection may not be good. Okay, you guys, bear with us. Stick with me. I am going to restart the stream. Hopefully we can get this back on track. So come back and join us again. I'll restart this and we'll show you how to finish up this nail. But yes, please come back. Please come back and join us.